Stadium in downtown Los Angeles. We're set for Cubs baseball on WGN Sports. The Cubs and Dodgers open up a weekend set, and we welcome Cub fans from all over the country watching on WGN America, America's home for baseball. And if you'd like a news and weather update, WGN's 9 o'clock news is online right now on WGNTV.com and on CLTV. We'll also have a full report as usual after the game for our local viewers on Channel 9. Great to have you with us, Jim DeShays and Len Casper, as the Cubs open up the month of August. 5-5 on the homestand. They now play a team with the best record in the National League. The Dodgers have won 6 in a row. I guess the good news is the Cubs won't face their 2 best starters.
The Dodgers have probably the best 1-2 punch fronting their rotation of any team in the National League. We will not see Clayton Kershaw, who's been the best pitcher in the National League, and Zach Greinke awfully good as well. That's the good news. The bad news is you got to figure out a way to get them out, and they've really been swinging the bats well lately. These 2 guys in particular, since the All-Star break, putting up huge numbers. Yasiel Puig at .433, Matt Kemp .415. You see the slugging numbers. Those batting averages are first and third best in the NL since the break.
And the Cubs just won 3 out of 4 against the Colorado Rockies. The roster continues to change. Emilio Bonifacio and James Russell traded yesterday, but it was a pretty good series, wasn't it?
Indeed it was. The Cubs won 3 out of 4 from the Colorado Rockies. Of course, had that epic 16-inning, 6-hour-plus ball game, hit 270 in the series, and particularly the bullpen really stood out in that set against the Rockies.
Everybody usually excited about coming to Dodger Stadium, especially the Southern California natives, including tonight's Cubs rookie starter. We'll get the pitching matchup when we return in a moment. Cubs baseball brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Ford, manufacturers of America's best-selling brand. Check out our best-selling lineup at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Dodgers were trailing the Giants by a bunch in early June, but they're surging right now. San Francisco a winner tonight in New York. The Dodgers with a 3-game lead in the National League West. We're going to talk pitching now. It'll be Kyle Hendricks back home. He's from the area. We'll have a lot of friends and family here tonight.
Yeah, putting a little pressure on the pass list tonight. Has to be a very exciting night for Kyle Hendricks. He has handled things very well since coming to the big leagues. Was good. His first start against the Reds was really good. Last 2 times out, 7 shutout against San Diego, and then a tough luck loser in his start against St. Louis. That was a 1-0 win for Wainwright and the Cardinals.
Clayton Kershaw pitched on normal rest last night. Of course, he went the distance. Dan Herron has been bumped back because he's coming off a really rough July.
Indeed. He was off to a nice start, 8-4, 357 through the end of June. July, an ugly month for him. 4 starts, lost them all, ERA of 9.47.
Well, the Dodgers in first place mainly because they've beaten the teams in their own division. They've essentially been 500 against everybody else. We'll kick off the weekend. Late night Cubs baseball from L.A. Next.
I'm gonna see the folks I dig. I'll even kiss the sun.
Finish in Coast to Coast on WGN Television. Brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. The celebrities come out here at Dodgers Stadium. Time for our Xfinity Speed Replay. The Dude, Jeff Bridges, throwing out or rolling out the ceremonial first pitch.
And now he's reading the starting lineup for the Dodgers. They're getting their money's worth out of Bridges here tonight.
Yes, they are. So big crowds expected this weekend. The Dodgers, I mentioned in early June, were well behind the San Francisco Giants. They were 9.5 games back on June 8th, and they're now 3 games ahead. So that's a 12.5 game turnaround over basically a 45-game stretch.
Well, not unlike last year when they started slowly, and there was rumors that Don Mattingly might lose his job, and then they went on a heck of a run, a very extended, successful run, ultimately won the division. Won the division series, lost in the league championship series. And this is a team that, in all phases, has been really, really good.
Get the umpires, Jim Wolf back at the plate. Tony Randazzo, Chicago native at first. David Rackley at second. Brian Gorman, the crew.
Take a look at the Dodgers defensively. It's been a challenge for Don Mattingly this year, as it was last, finding playing time for all the talented outfielders he has. They've recently moved Puig to center field. They've won all 6 ball games in which he started out there, so he's there again tonight. He's got Kemp in right, Crawford in left. Infield of Turner, Ramirez, Gordon, and Adrian Gonzalez. A.J. Ellis, the veteran backstop, does the catching for right-hander Dan Herron. Herron, a veteran, has been around a long time, 33 years of age now. He's 8-8 through 21 big league starts with a 4.49 ERA. But as we mentioned in the open, dreadful lately. He's had extra rest, and it's a pretty important stretch for him to reestablish himself as the Dodgers try to figure out what their pitching is going to look like for the remainder of this season. They were quiet at the trade deadline. There were some rumors that maybe they'd make a big play for a starting pitcher. They did not. And so Herron is being counted on to step up.
So the rookie Alcantara will lead it off. Both these starting pitchers from the Los Angeles area. First year for Herron with the Dodgers. Also has pitched with the Cardinals, the A's, the Diamondbacks, the Angels, and last year with the Washington Nationals.
Finesse, the name of the game for Herron, as it is for Kyle Hendricks. Wasn't always the case with Herron. He used to have a little more giddy up on his fastball, but that heater will sit in the 87 to 88 mile an hour range. Cutter, splitter, and a curveball. Split finger might be his best pitch.
There's the curveball. It dips in low. 76 degrees, but pretty humid here in L.A.
He's always had that hesitation in his delivery. Gets to the balance point, just holds it there momentarily before delivering. If he pitches 3 innings tonight, he will have pitched at least 1,000 innings in both the American and National League.
Yeah, he'd be the 3rd active pitcher to do that. Tim Hudson and A.J. Burnett are the others. Fouled back to the screen. Roster has changed. We mentioned Bonifacio and Russell traded to Atlanta yesterday. We'll get the corresponding moves here in a second. That ball is rolled to D. Gordon. Short throw to Gonzalez for the out. So they get a young switch hitting catcher named Victor Caratini. See his numbers in the low minors with the Braves organization. Felix Doubront has been added to the 25-man roster and placed on the disabled list with a strained calf. Blake Parker recalled from AAA Iowa, and infielder Chris Valleca selected. He can play all 4 infield spots, and JD immediately becomes his top backup at shortstop to Castro, and at first base to Rizzo, as Chris Coughlin starting August like he finished July when he batted .376.
They made a lot of solid contact. He has made a lot of solid contact over the last month. Spraying line drives all over the field. It's not a bad pitch. That's a split finger pitch. Off the plate, down a little bit. Try to pull it. Nothing good happens, but you go with it. And good things do happen. Herron hardly walks anybody. It's always been a big part of his game. 26 walks this year in 122 innings.
Now Rizzo. He's now trailing Giancarlo Stanton for the National League home run lead. Stanton hit his 26th tonight in a Marlins 5-2 loss to Cincinnati. Foul tip. 1-1. First meeting of the year. We'll see the Dodgers at Wrigley Field in late September.
Dodgers have had the Cubs number in recent years. They've won 9 out of the last 10 between these two teams. You might be able to steal a bag off Dan Haren. There's been 14 steals, just one caught with Haren on the mound, and A.J. Ellis has only thrown out 12%. What else do we know about Dan Haren? Well,
tell us.
Well, he's got a whip that's a little too high, and the OPS is significantly higher than league average. He's getting more ground ball outs this year than he has in the past. Strikeout rate below average, but that walk rate, again, is always among the best in the league. Haren was never an overpowering guy, but he used to be able to go 90-92 with regularity. You can't get there anymore, so you got to be a little crafty. That's why he throws cutters and probably uses his splitter a little bit more now than he used to.
Dodgers lead all of baseball in terms of starter ERA at 3.13, but as you mentioned, they're definitely top heavy. Kershaw and Greinke have been tremendous. Kershaw 10-0 over his last 11 starts with an ERA that's under 1.
Yeah, and the Cubs catch a big break not having to face either two of those cats.
Rizzo in the air to right, but Matt Kemp will make the grab. So he swept the Giants, and then they swept the Braves.
It was an interesting night in that he allowed 9 hits in a complete game. He didn't walk anybody, struck out 9. He and Greinke combined in the month of July for a 1.62 ERA. The 3 pitchers the Cubs will see in this series in July combined for an ERA of 6.5. Beckett has struggled lately. Ryu, who we see tomorrow, has been lately. And the Chronicle.
Can you quantify that noise you just made? One strike on the All-Star Starlin Castro. He had the bases loaded walk to drive in the first run yesterday. That's your game winner. In fact, 2 game-winning RBIs in the last 3 days. Coghlan runs. Castro swings and misses. Coghlan safe. Nearly overslid the bag, but he was able to hang on as the Major League stolen base leader tried to apply the tag. Number 5 for Coghlan.
Cubs don't run a lot, and with Bonifacio gone, they don't have, many guys with that kind of speed. But again, it's when you look at the numbers against Haren and Ellis, you feel like guys that normally don't steal would have a fighting chance to get a base here, and Coghlan runs pretty well.
Bouncer to Hanley Ramirez. Off balance throw, and the Cubs come up empty. They do get a hit. Leave Coghlan at second. Kyle Hendricks to the mound when we return to L.A. Los Angeles and by Los Angeles fans throughout the weekend. Dee Gordon will lead it off. He's had a terrific year leading the majors in triples and stolen bases. Yasiel Puig is in center. Adrian Gonzalez at first. By the way, that's Jim DeShay's surfing behind. You can't see him. Baby. Hanley Ramirez is short. Carl Crawford plays left. It's Matt Kemp. He's been red hot. He's in right. Justin Turner in for Juan Uribe. A.J. Ellis having a tough year with the bat. And the pitcher Herron's always been good at the plate.
Cubs afield. Coughlin, Sweeney, Shearholtz left, center, right. Valbuena Castro left side of the infield. Alcantara, Rizzo right side of the infield. Castillo behind the plate. And a big night for 24-year-old right-hander Kyle Hendricks. Grew up just down the road, closer to Angels Stadium, but about an hour from here, Mission Viejo. 1-1, 233 through 3 big league starts so far this year for Hendricks.
Pitched in this ballpark in a high school game years ago. But this is the big leagues. This is a kind of park, too, where you just walk into the stadium and you say that this is a big leagues. Got 4 decks. It's loud. Celebrities all over the place. Running to Scott Boras. 1-1 on Dee Gordon. It would be best for the Cubs to keep him off the bases tonight. He's got 48 steals. That leads the majors.
Kyle Hendricks, like Dan Herron, a finesse guy who's not going to throw fastballs by hitters until he gets his changeup established, and they start looking for that. Then he can beat him with the heater. And you see his numbers very good early on. 3 big league starts, above average numbers across the board in terms of OPS against and whip. He's not a strikeout guy.
Full count, 3-2 on Gordon. Yasiel Puig is on deck. Dodgers don't hit a lot of home runs. 3rd in the league in runs. Castro really had no shot. Gordon is on to start the inning.
Yeah, early pressure here on Hendricks as he tries to settle in here at Dodger Stadium. And now he's got to worry about Dee Gordon, and he also has to worry about the hottest hitter in the league who's coming up now, and a very deep lineup. So P.J. Manville out to check on him to make sure that comebacker didn't do any significant damage.
So Hendricks says he's okay. P.J. Mainville out along with the manager, Ricky Renteria, who's from L.A. as well. Grew up in Compton and Southgate, not far from here. He's got a ton of family and friends at the ballpark tonight. Talking to him before the game, J.D., he's the middle of 9 kids in his family. 7 boys, 2 girls. And they're all thrilled for him.
Says he used to take the number 9 bus out to Dodger Stadium as a kid to watch the Dodgers play back in the Lopes, Russell, Garvey era.
Here's Puig. He had a huge year against the Cubs last year. He went 11 for 21 with 2 doubles and 2 homers in the season series as a rookie.
He doesn't really play baseball as much as he attacks baseball. He's got one speed, and it's go, go, go.
In the dirt. And we want to give a shout out to our good friend Steve Bird. At his last day at Stats LLC today, all the graphics info and numbers we provide each game are from Stats. Steve has been front and center with them for 17 years. He's been an enormous help to us, a great partner, and we wish him nothing but the best. 1-0 with Gordon on the move, and he is safe with number 49. The Dodgers lead the majors now with 97 steals, and basically half have been by that guy.
Yeah, he's the igniter at the top of the order, and went to spring training, not guaranteed a job. Breaking pitch. Castillo's been throwing well lately, but that's a tough That's a tough get right there, trying to throw out D. Gordon. Yeah, Steve will probably be a scratch golfer here in short order.
You know, Gordon has a big advantage too. He gets to work with Maury Wills and Davey Lopes on bunting and base running. Gordon was thinking about trying for third. Puig is out at first on a close play. Don Mattingly's going to come out. Maybe. Got his foot on the top step.
Puig's not conceding anything.
No, he's not going to head back. He's waiting for his manager to come out.
He's going to hold his breath until the manager comes out.
Yeah, see how you're out. See, yeah, you got to head back to the dugout until they tell you otherwise. Now he starts jogging.
He was waiting for Mattingly to give him the "come on back, come on home" sign.
I'm surprised he didn't come out.
I mean, he was standing. The managers are instructed to kind of come out, aren't they? If they're contemplating appealing. I'm also surprised D. Gordon didn't go to third base on that play. I thought if he held his ground a little longer, he could have advanced to third on the throw by Castro.
So nice play by Castro to get him. And here's Adrian Gonzalez, second in the league with 71 knocked in, and he's been hot as of late. You'd have to say, and certainly in this era, as Gordon takes off for third, safe. Cubs are going to want to take a look at this play.
Essentially got a running lead on Hendricks. Castillo didn't have much chance, but a shorter throw, obviously. He put it right on the bag.
I think the biggest question, did he come off the bag on his way through? And it's hard to tell. They're saying, don't bother.
It's going to become the image of the 2014 baseball season, right? The manager standing next to the umpire looking into the dugout for the thumbs up or thumbs down.
So now the Cubs will have to bring some of their infielders in. Looks like all of them. 2-0 on Gonzalez. Stolen base number 50 for Gordon. The pitch. I was going to say, JD, we often contemplate how an all-star team would do against the rest of the league. If you look at the resumes of a lot of these Dodger position players, and obviously at the top of their rotation, really Josh Beckett you could add to that mix when you think about his career. Dan Herron. Walk Gonzalez. This is about as close to that as you get.
Yeah, there's some,
and they've had chemistry questions.
They can,
so yeah, piling up talent's one thing, but how does it all work together?
They can beat you with the resumes, that's for sure. And that's the challenge. That's why managers get paid a lot of money. You get this team with the highest payroll in all of baseball. You get all that star power, and it comes with challenges. You got a lot of egos. You got to try to placate. You got to find playing time for all these guys. I think that's probably been the biggest issue this year. Puig, kind of calming Puig down was a big story last year, and to a certain extent this year. This season, it's that whole outfield rotation and how much is Matt Kemp going to play and where is he going to play, and Ethier.
Well, when you talk to people who've watched this club every day, they say Hanley Ramirez is the key. He had a great year last year when he was healthy. He's 0 for his last 11. So if he can have a big final couple of months and into October, they're going to feel a lot better about things. He missed 52 games last year. But as I said, when he was on the field, he was great. Yeah, I'd say he had 102 points higher at this point last year.
And his return from the DL last year coincided with Puig's arrival, and it was kind of like, Puig kind of stole all the headlines, but when you looked at the numbers, it was, wait a minute, look what this guy's doing.
The pitch bounced foul. Yeah, their payroll last year basically doubled, more than doubled, $217 million or so. And then this year it's up at almost $230 million. One-two pitch hit on the ground. They'll get none. Throw got away from Castro. Gonzalez coming around third. Should be a play at the plate. Throw there late. Oh, he got him. Wow.
Well,
maybe Gonzalez didn't touch home plate. Looked like his foot got in there before the tag. But he's called out.
Yeah, he's looking hard at it. Here comes Mattingly. He's going to wait for a signal. So here we are in the first inning, and this is our third potentially reviewable play.
As it is, it's 1-0. This will be an error on Castro's first in a while.
Yeah, you know, he's thinking big things there. He's thinking possibly two, so he hurries that throw.
He had gone a career best 38 in a row. Talking about games without an error. Did he?
I don't think he got the plate.
He just missed the plate.
Yeah,
he was tagged after he went by the plate.
They're going to look at it. Castillo was out in front of home plate, as he should be. Can't block home plate, remember. You have to give the runner a lane. But it's interesting, you know, the base runner can slide directly into home plate, but more times than not now, when you see this play at the plate, the runner's always kind of sliding past the plate, trying to slap it on his way by. If he goes feet first to home plate, he probably beats it.
The crowd is going crazy because they think he's safe. And again, he beat the throw, but the question is, does he touch home plate? And I don't see that he ever did.
No, and it's funny. They're reacting to something that they can't even see. The highlight they're showing here on the big board is there's no evidence that he was safe. But I think he got it right. That was the one look we had. His feet go by the plate. Yeah, he beat the throw. And that's good umpiring. The easy call there is safe, right? When the guy's that far ahead of the throw, it's easy to call him safe. And Jim Wolf, great mechanics, a good look.
We had enough close plays here in the bottom of the first.
Huh?
I think that'll go. Yep, he's out. I think it goes 9-3-2.
Yep. Good throw by Shearholtz. Quick exchange by Rizzo.
Now, see, to me, that was more definitive than the Puig play at first. Yet the Dodgers challenged that one. Interesting. Here's Carl Crawford playing left. Active triples leader with 119 in his career as he swings and misses.
I guess because it's a run, maybe they're.
Yeah, but like if you have video that shows you never touch the plate, they're not going to give you the run.
I would think, yeah. It's so whoever's in charge of the video review for the Dodgers just got a little overly optimistic.
RBI fielder's choice for Ramirez and the throwing error on Castro's first in 39 games. Oh, 2, little tapper picked up by Hendricks. to end an eventful bottom of the first. Gordon with an infield hit, 2 steals, and scores a run. An error involved there, and it's 1-0 Dodgers.
Along with Rick Renteria, log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and information while you watch from home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape. Pools, patio sets, play sets, hot tubs, and more.
One nothing Dodgers. The run was earned. And a strike on Luis Valbuena.
A pretty good idea of what kind of a weapon D. Gordon can be there in the bottom of the first.
That ball thumped to deep right, and it will go for a home run. We're tied. Number 9 for Valbuena.
Coming off a very successful homestand, Valbuena gets this road trip off to a smashing start. It's the 22nd home run surrendered by Dan Herron this year, second most in the National League. Cubs a very home run dependent team. Let's see, trying to get a fastball in. Nope, missed. Drifted back over the plate. A mistake, and it was paid for.
Yeah, these two teams here in an inning and a half, not even, have played up to the statistical storylines offensively. The Cubs score a lot of their runs on homers, and the Dodgers do not.
The Cubs just under 40% of their runs, I believe, is the number.
Yep. 39.3% before that home run. A 2-0 on Ryan Sweeney, who's been hot here lately. Fouled away. 6 for his last 14 with a double and 2 homers.
And, you know, part of that story is the fact that they haven't scored enough runs to begin with, right? Because you would think, well, okay, they must have a bunch of thumpers in their lineup. And aside from Rizzo, they don't have anybody that's hitting a lot of home runs.
A bouncer to Gordon. Catcher digs in, Wellington Castillo. Like a bit of a late arriving crowd tonight. Tomorrow night's already sold out. This is the third oldest ballpark and the second oldest in the National League. They have maintained it extremely well. This is always one of our favorite visits on the road. Inside 2-0.
I think more than anything, the weather is usually so nice out here. It just puts you in a good mood.
Yep.
And of course, you got the mountains as a backdrop. San Gabriel Mountains. Yeah.
3-1. Sherholtz on deck. 1-1. We're in the second. Good swing, tapped it foul.
Got a little greedy. That would have been ball 4. But hitters tend to get greedy when it's 3 balls and 1 strike. Looking to do some damage.
Payoff delivery. Ball 4. He walked him. And also at the top of the list in terms of coming to Dodger Stadium is Vin Scully, a national treasure. Year number 65 with the Dodgers. Recently announced he will be back for number 66 next year. Started in 1950 with the Brooklyn Dodgers. It's called 25 World Series, 19 no-hitters. I think that was going into the season. And the Kershaw one here. 3 perfect games, 12 all-star games. From Truman to Obama, 12 presidents.
And did the game of the week for a long time on NBC. Used to do a lot of golf.
That is a great tie. 86 and as stylish as ever. The 0-1 to Sherholtz. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Years ago when I was with the Astros, we played a game with the Dodgers, 88 or 89, back when I was playing. And we went 22 innings, I think. Vin had done the game of the week earlier that day, flew into Houston, did the 22-inning game that night, and then a day game the next day that went 13 innings, and left town, and I believe their next game went 10 innings. So after that final extra inning game, he said he got a telegram from Phil Collier, the old sports writer from San Diego, that just said, Lou Gehrig's got nothing on you.
1-2 pitch, fouled away by Sherholtz. Pitcher Hendricks on deck.
Not much of a history between Herron and most of the Cub hitters. Sherholtz is 1 out of 6 against them. Coughlin had the most plate appearances. He was 4 for 16 coming into this ball game.
Full count, 3-2 on him. Since 2005, Dan Herron has more quality starts than anybody. 205. Second most innings, over 2,000. Third most wins, 4th most strikeouts. He's been doing this for a long time.
Well, he's made at least 30 starts every season since 2005. So durability, a big part of the story when you talk about Dan Herron.
Short lead by Castillo. 3-2 pitch popped up. Back of third, it's Turner to make the play. So 2 outs. Cubs will celebrate the 80s on the next homestand. The Tampa Bay Rays and Milwaukee Brewers come in for a 7-game set. Make sure to visit WrigleyField100.com for all the planned 80s festivities. For tickets, it's Cubs.com today. Again, we're going collars up in the golf shirts.
Pop the collars.
Hendricks rolls one into center for his first major league hit after an 0 for 5 start to his career. Cubs will ask for the ball.
Somewhere in this ballpark, there's a contingent of Hendricks family and friends that are very excited about this swing of the bat. Always nice to get it off a guy who's got some credentials too, like Heron.
Always mess around, like, throw the ball out of play. That's not the base hit ball. Swing and a miss by Alcantara. 1 strike on him. Well, trying to settle in. 19th major league game for Mendy. OPS plus of 109, so he's been better than league average so far. Swing and a miss. Oh, 2. We'll do it again. Oh, we got to peg our jeans too. The 80s. You know how to do that?
No.
I can show you. Swing and a miss to end the inning. Cubs tied on the Valbuena homer. Cub fans will remember this tune from LA's Van Halen 30 years ago. 1-1. Cub fans, make sure you check out Len and JD's baseball blog. at WGNTV.com. It's brought to you by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 36 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. We're tied at 1. Dodgers will bat in the home half of the second. It's been an interesting year for Matt Kemp. Actually, the last couple of years, he's been on the DL a lot. 4 times in the last 2 seasons. Has at times been pretty adamant about being an everyday player. He would like to play center again. Was moved from center to left in late May and recently moved to right. Still owed over $100 million after this season, and he's red hot. He's hitting .459 over his last 10 games.
He's just 29 years of age, so he's, still in the prime of his career. This guy in 2011 hit .324, 39 home runs, drove in 126, had an OPS of .985.
The 0-2 is hit high in the air out into deep right center. Looks like Sweeney's got room. He does on the track.
Third baseman, number 10, Justin Turner.
All right, some Plimsolls. Tweet us your Cubs selfies at hashtag WGNCubs. There's our good friend Steve Bird. I'll get lucky. 3 7s and 9s. The Plimsolls. Justin Turner takes a strike on a sinker from Hendricks.
In at third tonight for Juan Uribe. Turner, a versatile guy, could play all over the field.
Sinker is off the plate inside. Fourth major league start for Kyle Hendricks. Ground ball into center for a base hit. First ball, other than that shot by Kemp, they put into the outfield. The hit by Gordon was an infield single in the first.
Small sample, but through his first 3 starts, Kyle Hendricks, a pretty extreme ground ball pitcher. You see that sinking action, gets Turner to hit the ball on the ground, but unfortunately for Hendricks, he's able to find a hole up the middle. But because of those ground ball tendencies, Don Mattingly may be inclined to play a little hit and run.
What in the world's going on with A.J. Ellis? Hitting 197. Always been a pretty patient guy, takes walks. He's hitting for no power. He's been on the DL twice this year, so that hasn't helped. Left knee surgery and then a right ankle sprain, which he suffered when he stepped on a catcher's mask while celebrating Josh Beckett's no-hitter in Philadelphia. He did not catch that game. He did catch Kershaw's.
Yeah, well, because of all the walks, he was able to carry a pretty high on-base percentage despite the very low batting average, but the slugging numbers not good at all. And that OPS well below average. He's really the only guy in the lineup that you can say that about. Everybody else is above average when you consider on-base plus slugging. Well, here's your hit and run play. Here's your hit and run count anyway. Don Mattingly is thinking about it. Not gonna.
Strike called. A wince from the batter Ellis. 2-2. 314 in his career against the Cubs. It's been an interesting ride for Don Mattingly here. Rumors a year ago in early June about him possibly being fired. Ended up being a manager of the year candidate by season's end. That's going to take Alcantara right to the bag, and a 4-3 inning ending double play. You ever go to the Whiskey?
No.
Well, if you did back in the late 60s, you'd have seen the Doors. 1-1. So something's going on with Adrian Gonzalez. I don't know if he tweaked something on that slide into home plate.
Yeah, that would be my best guess. I didn't see him favor anything after the play. I wasn't really bearing down either.
Coughlin, Rizzo, and Castro against Dan Herron.
A.J. Ellis and D. Gordon both nicked up a little bit in the ball game last night, but they're in there tonight. Here's Gonzalez, not running all that well, but speed's not a big part of his game. Ooh, that right leg is a little ugly underneath there. That was a little ugly.
Coughlin with a single and a steal in the first inning, and a strike from Herron. Mention how bad a month Herron had in July. 4 starts, he lost all of them. Had an ERA of 9.5, but going into July, he was pretty good. 8-4 to start the year. 357 through 3 months.
So they skipped him in the rotation. He's working with 8-9 days of rest. We saw him last August with the Nationals, a year in which he went 10-14 with a .467 earned run average.
High fastball gets a swing and a miss from Coughlin. Second strikeout for Herron.
So next homestand, we celebrate the 80s. Friday, August 8th, 3:05 first pitch. The Rays are in town. First 10,000 fans will receive an illuminating first night game Rick Sutcliffe bobblehead presented by Las Vegas. This is number 8 of 10 in the Wrigley Field bobblehead giveaway series. Cubs.com to reserve your seats.
That's a good bobblehead. That looked exactly like Sut in his windup. How about this?
The bobblehead helmet.
The 0-1 to Rizzo is pulled foul.
Did you take the elevator up today from down below?
No.
As you make your way down the hall to the elevator, they've got a display of all the gold gloves that the Dodgers have won over the years. It's really cool.
I will take the elevator tomorrow. I took the escalator. That ball out into right. Kept going after it. He can't make the catch. It one hops a wall. Puig will fire it back in. But it's a double for Rizzo.
Kemp walking gingerly after that effort. Again, it looked like they were trying to go in on Rizzo, and it drifts out over the plate, and that's a danger zone for Herron. He just does not have enough fastball to throw it by most hitters, certainly not Rizzo the way he's been going. Good
watch how Puig, watch how Puig makes this play. Really had no shot at Rizzo, but my goodness. Yeah, if you're a Dodger outfielder and you're less than 100%, you may not want to show it, because Andre Ethier is sitting in the dugout right now, probably thinking, I'd like to be out there. Van Slyke at first. He might be an everyday guy with another team as well in the outfield. I suppose a good problem to have ultimately. It falls on Don Mattingly to figure it out.
Oh, nice play by Ellis. You know, I kind of misspoke earlier when we were talking about those issues at the start of the ball game, and I said, you know, he's getting the challenge for Mattingly is to placate all these guys. That's not really his job to placate them. They don't have to be happy. They just have to come to work every day ready to play and play hard. So whether they're happy or not doesn't matter a whole lot.
Herron's 2-1 to Castro.
It's a guy like Herron, you've got to be patient, because you watch his stuff, and as a hitter you say, this guy's hittable, I can get to him. He's going to take advantage of that anxiety. You know, you get hitterish, he's just going to throw the ball off the outside edge, get you to chase. Had that real low walk rate throughout his career, not because he just pumps fastballs over the heart of the plate. It's because he has such good command, and if he feels like you're going to swing at a pitch off the plate, he's not going to throw it over the plate.
Valbuena on deck. He homered to lead off the second. Topper to third, picked up by Turner, and he's just going to hang on to it. And an infield hit for Castro, with Rizzo holding at second.
Well, it's been a rough go for Castro of late. His batting average down below 270 coming into this ball game, so he'll take anything he can get. A little slow roller. Turner wisely opts not to make a throw.
He'll bring up Valbuena. Pulled one into the seats and right. His first time up. Right down the middle, 89 on the fastball. Much of the early stuff is over. Reds beat the Marlins 5-2. Matt Latos pitching in his hometown, getting the win for the Reds. Boy, they had that disputed home plate call last night. Cincinnati a 3-1 winner. Game-tying runs scored. Zach Cozart was tagged out by Jeff Mathis, but Mathis was deemed in that runner's lane. They had a 6-minute 10-second review as Aaron strikes out Valbuena. 2 outs here in the third. MLB announced today they got the ruling correct, but they said it took too long in New York.
Like a backdoor cutter to get Valbuena. Valbuena not happy with that second strike call, but as you saw with our pitch tracks, they were good pitches.
Now Sweeney with 2 outs and 2 on. And a strike called. We talked about that play before the game. We think they got it right. Catcher doesn't have the ball. He's got to give the runner a lane. And it doesn't matter if the runner's 15, 20 feet away.
That's where that rule needs to be tightened up. Here's the play. Giancarlo Stanton gets off the throw from right field. Jeff Mathis is the catcher, and he's been in the big leagues for a long time, so he's kind of doing what comes naturally for a catcher who's been around a while. But clearly there was no lane there for Zach Cozart.
Mike Redmond was apoplectic.
Yes, he was.
Which you can understand.
He was really mad too, Professor.
Yes. But Cozart was deemed to not have any sort of lane, and therefore called safe. Mike Winters is saying, but Red, I didn't make the call. New York did. I called him out.
Yeah, hand the manager the phone. Here you go.
New York.
New York.
Here's Mike Redmond.
All right, manager on line 2.
2-2 to Sweeney is in. It's 3-2.
Good patient approach here for the Cub hitters, making Herron throw a lot of pitches.
Runners go on the 3-2 and a base hit to right. Rizzo will come around and score. Throw goes to third, gets by and into the dugout, and that will allow Castro to score. And Sweeney will go all the way to third.
Ryan Sweeney been really good lately. 333 on the homestand. Doesn't play every day, but he's been making the most of his opportunities. He's been doing this more frequently. He's been pulling the ball. For a while he was just flipping it the other way. Now he's hitting the ball with a little more authority to right field. You see Kemp come up, take a look at Holmes, got nothing there, changes his direction and fires a pretty good throw in there to third base. And a lot of culpability there. Turner's got to knock that ball down. Herron should be backing up third base. But it'll be Kemp that will be charged with the error.
So a 3-1 Cubs advantage, and ball 1 on Castillo.
For me, Kemp's probably the least responsible for that ball going into the stands.
Because it bounced. He gets the error.
Life is not fair.
That gets away. Sweeney tries to score. The flip. He's safe. It's 4-1.
Three in the third. Nice job by Sweeney delivering a big 2-out hit and then scoring on this wild pitch from Dan Herron.
I wonder if Sweeney was asking the home plate umpire Jim Wolf, does the pitcher have to give me a lane? Kind of asking for a collision on that play, aren't you?
And that's a great question.
Swing and a miss, 2-2.
They're not trying to eliminate catcher collisions. They're trying to eliminate home plate collisions, or minimize them anyway.
Wine in the 2-2 pitch. It's low, 3-2. Again, the point ends up being moot because he scores as the ball gets by. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, he's there ahead of him.
Yep.
So.
Not even an issue. Ball 4. Castillo has walked twice tonight. 28 pitch, 3rd inning for Dan Herron. It's Rick Honeycutt, their longtime pitching coach.
On next Saturday, the 9th, the Rays are in town. It's a 3:05 ball game, and the first 10,000 fans at the ballpark will receive Cubs retro headphones presented by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit Cubs.com to purchase your tickets. You can listen to your retro 80s music.
We will not see David Price in that series, but what, Drew Smiley maybe? Big day yesterday, trade deadline. Boston made a bunch of deals this week.
Yeah, Boston retooling. Oakland loading up the pitching staff. Same for the Tigers. Cardinals saying goodbye to Alan Craig and Joe Kelly. Watching the baseball channel earlier today, and they were at Fenway showing Alan Craig working on balls off the Green Monster. Looks like he's going to play left field. Cespedes with that big arm, better off using him in right. I mean, that's the general theory, right? Put the bigger arm in right field. But I could see a counter argument to that, saying because of the wall, that left fielder could really neutralize teams trying to score. If you got a guy like Cespedes with a cannon out there in left, getting on that ball in a hurry, it's going to shut a lot of people down.
Yep. Well, I think ultimately, too, speed matters more in right than in left.
Yes.
There's a former Cub, Paul Maholm, up in the Dodger bullpen. Really, I think the only reason Alan Craig was playing right is because Matt Holliday's entrenched in left for the Cardinals. That ball hit pretty well, but it's going to be run down by Puig. To end the inning, the Cubs put up a 3-spot. 2 of the runs earned, 1 unearned.
Hey, you ever been to the Whiskey?
Easy as you'll see traffic move here in Southern California. Cubs leading the Dodgers 4-1. Cubs scored 3 times in the top of this 3rd inning to take a 4-1 lead. By the way, the 80s homestand coming up on this date, 1981. MTV debuted 33 years ago with the Buggles. Video killed the radio star.
Martha Quinn, was she VJ?
Don't know if she was an original. She might have been, yeah. It's a good year here in L.A. Dan Herron.
Get there.
The bag.
Well, boy, somebody flies. That Hinske flying out of the far end of the Cubs dugout, telling Ricky Renteria to challenge this one. Hinske just came flying out of the dugout, and Rizzo saying, "No, I missed it." Anthony just a little late.
They had him.
Yeah, the Shearholtz was on it immediately. Anthony was late, recognizing the potential. That's a right fielder's dream right there.
Ricky telling Rizzo to go talk to the pitcher to give him a couple more seconds. I don't think he ever got it.
I don't think so. But boy, the way Hinske reacted.
Well, I think from his vantage point,
it looks like there might be. That's hard to tell. Here we go. Yeah,
that angle does not give us a definitive look. And Ricky's going to challenge.
Close enough to take a look. But again, if Anthony reacts as soon as that ball goes through the hole, they got him pretty easily.
See, can you tell 100%?
Not with that look, no.
Well, Ricky's going to challenge. Cubs will challenge.
Now let's listen to some more Doors.
There you go. I always thought this was a good driving song. Late night
good
drive.
Challenge. This could become challenge music.
If we were in Miami last night, we'd have had to play Inagata Devita. What's your guess here? They can overturn?
I don't know if they have looks that we don't have. If they don't, I think the play will stand.
Herron has always been a good hitter. Career .207. But as you can see, probably hasn't legged out a lot of infield hits either.
That started as a National Leaguer, spent the first 2 years of his big league career in St. Louis and was traded to Oakland. Was there for 3 years. Then to Arizona. And then over to the Angels before returning to the National League last year with the Nationals.
I mean, I'm guessing his toe hit the bag, but guessing is not the same as clear and convincing evidence. And you know what? Anthony's got to get to the bag earlier. That's the one thing he did that put us in this spot of having to have a replay. Is there was a hesitation.
Yeah, it's such an unusual play. You got caught, unaware. You just don't, that play happens so rarely. But, you have to know the pitcher up there, they're going to be shortened up in right field for him. Shearholtz on it in a heartbeat.
Okay, so it looks like there was some dirt residue left on the side of the bag, but does that then give you evidence? I guess it does. Okay. I'm guessing they had another angle that we did not have that showed no space between the toe and the base. So how about a 9-3 ground out?
Yeah. There you go. We've had a lot of interesting things in this ball game already. Time to start looking around for the full moon.
So we've had about 5 minutes of review time with a couple of challenges so far. Lined to Coughlin for the out. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN.
Dodger center fielder number 66, Yasiel Puig.
Back here at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles to open up a 3-game weekend, 6-game trip over the next 7 days. Backhanded by Castro. It's stretched by Rizzo. That was a 5-pitch inning. Didn't feel like it, did it?
No, it was a long 5-pitch inning.
4-1 Cubs. Tomorrow night an hour earlier, and then Sunday 3 o'clock late afternoon ball on WGN Sports. And it's off to Denver. Ford, go further in any one of Ford's many fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out America's freshest lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. It was in the city. Joe Walsh with the Eagles. I guess when we go to Denver, we could play Rocky Mountain Way. Keep the theme going as Puig retires Hendricks. It's Kyle, not Jimmy.
Second baseman number 7, Alcantara.
Now Alcantara, who's grounded out and struck out. Indians blasted the Rangers tonight in Cleveland, 12-2 the final. David Murphy 4 for 4, knocked in 2 against his former club. Tigers beat the Rockies 4-2 in Detroit. Justin Verlander got the win. Nice play by Van Slyke. Herron covering out at first on a bang-bang play.
Number 8, Chris Cobb.
A couple close calls for Herron at first base. One as a base runner, here as a pitcher covering. Nice play here by Van Slyke. Oh, shuffle past to Heron, and they just barely get Alcantara.
Verlander has won 14 in a row in the regular season against the National League. Wide of first.
Last chance for the Cardinals. Bottom of the ninth, they trail the Brewers 7-2. Adam Wainwright gave up 7 runs tonight in 5 1/3.
That's a big series. Top 2 teams in the Central. Milwaukee with a 2-game lead over the Cards.
Willie Peralta good again.
That series in St. Louis. I just said Milwaukee. A 7-pitch inning for Heron. Yeah, we're in the big city of L.A. 4-1 Cubs.
For up to 200 guests for corporate gatherings, family reunions, and bachelor or bachelorette parties. Individual and group tickets are available for all games. For more details, go to WrigleyvilleRooftops.com or call 773-248-ROOF.
The Birds. Maybe they played with the Thamesmen back in the 60s. There's Marty DeBerge. Sinkers in, 1-1. I'm sorry, it's Meathead. And Slike into center, and Sweeney is there to make the grab for the out.
Michael Stivic.
Big baseball fan, Rob Reiner.
It's got a new movie out, right? Rom-com. It's got good reviews. I can't think of the name of it.
I'm sure it's good.
He's pretty good. Like he needs my endorsement.
Sinker is a strike, not where Hendricks normally wants it. Hanley Ramirez, was he just staring down?
He can't believe it, yeah.
Utter disbelief. Another sinker off the plate inside. Love to hear from you tonight. We've gotten some good tweets. Andy Lankheit says chili peppers, doors. Joe Walsh, it's only the 4th. Give everyone in the truck a raise. You all get raises. Of course, anything we say is not obligatory contractually. Yeah, we got more to come musically. Just the opening act. 1-2 to Ramirez. Nearly hit him. I don't know how it didn't.
He shook off Castillo a couple times. Clearly wanted to establish a little something inside with the two-seam fastball. So important for a guy, especially a guy who's not a hard thrower, to be able to make that pitch, push a hitter off the plate a little bit, make him at least aware of the inside part of the plate. And then that front door cutter. Kid knows how to pitch. Smart guy. His desire was to go to Stanford, but they didn't recruit him. Hit a quote-unquote settle for Dartmouth. He was an 8th-round pick by the Rangers out of Dartmouth in 2011. Outstanding golfer as a kid as well.
He's pitching with Pearl preferred leather. Line drive base hit to left. Ramirez carried his bat halfway down to first.
This is an interesting team. They have some very dynamic, exciting players. They got some guys that put on a little bit of a show, including Hanley. They have the best attendance in baseball, and I would imagine their road attendance is pretty high too. A lot of marquee names, exciting players. You think about Puig, the way he plays the game, D. Gordon with his speed, Clayton Kershaw, anytime he's scheduled a pitch, it's must-see TV.
They've had issues, though, with this market seeing their games locally on their huge new television network, Sportsnet LA.
Yeah. Having a hard time getting distributed, kind of like the story down in Houston, the way it was in San Diego a few years back.
Big cut and a miss.
Probably why Tommy's here. Can't watch him at home.
His 65th season with the Dodgers.
That's a Cowboys football coach behind him, Jason Garrett.
Oh, good call.
Yeah, well, they showed him on the big screen there about an inning ago, and they identified him, and then the fans booed, and then they panned back and showed Tommy, and then they all cheered.
They don't have a team here. Why'd they boo?
I don't know.
Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Maybe they want the Dodgers to be America's team.
Right fielder number 27.
That's the first strikeout for Hendricks. Join us for the 5th annual Boy Scout Night, Tuesday, August 12th. The Cubs battle the Brewers at 7:05. Boy Scouts and their families will purchase specially priced tickets through the Cubs special events page. Will participate in a post-game lap and receive a uniform patch. Tickets and details are only available through Cubs.com/special events. Kemp with a very awkward swing there.
Looked like he kind of predetermined that he was going to go up and attack that first pitch, and he got it started and had to kind of half swing, half bail out on a running fastball moving in on him.
Well, 4 starts really don't make a trend, but Hendricks has given up 6 runs total. 5 have come in the first inning. here in the big league. So once he's gotten settled in, he's been a lot better.
Yeah, well, all starting pitchers, in my opinion, are vulnerable in the first inning, especially on the road. Mound you're not used to. You're facing the top of the batting order. And some guys, they just have a hard time getting loose, and they're not good in the first inning. Finesse guys, I think, even more so, because it's so much about release point and setting hitters up and kind of getting locked in with their delivery. It was really apparent in his very first start in Cincinnati. He got squeezed by the home plate umpire in that game a little bit, plus he was misfiring out over the plate.
Back-to-back Ks, his first 2 of the night after the Ramirez single. It is 4-1 Cubs. Dealing with a drought here, so sadly that's been true. 4-1 Cubs as they'll bat here in the 5th inning. Rizzo double in 2 trips and a run scored and a strike. Look out. Rizzo just hit a rocket into his own dugout. Rizzo just got hit.
Yeah, it's a real challenge for a guy like Heron with Rizzo because he's so close to the plate, and he can't try to throw to the outside corner often because that's essentially down the middle because he's so close to the plate. Just trying to work him in with cutters and overthrew one a little bit. Rizzo is hit for what, the 12th time now? He's right near the top of the league leaderboard in that department.
I think he's going to lead the league when it's all said and done. Yes. There's a base hit into center. Cubs threatening here in the 5th. 2 on, nobody out.
Third baseman, number 24, Luis Valbuena.
Second hit in the game for Castro. The first one just a little slow roller down the third baseline. Here he sticks his backside out and pings one into center field. Mentioned last time that his batting average had dipped below 270. That was the first time since early June he'd been below 270.
Balbuena tied the game in his first at bat, led off the second with a no-doubter to right. Calling Adrian Gonzalez's injury a right knee contusion. That's why he had to leave the game. One and one on Balbuena, 2 on, nobody out. High fly out into left center. Crawford makes a catch, and the runners will hold.
Yeah, that's the challenge with Yasiel Puig in center field. As I mentioned earlier, this guy has one speed, and it's go, go, go.
Center fielder, number 6.
And there's going to be a real challenge with some of the communication issues on balls like this one. Puig's calling it, and Crawford should yield, but he probably didn't hear him. Center fielder has priority. But he'll pursue balls that other guys would just yield and say, okay, you got it.
Chris Perez up in their bullpen. Now, the thing about Puig, and ultimately, all anybody can really judge him on in this arena is what he does on the baseball field. But did you read some of the stories this year about his odyssey from Cuba to Mexico and then to the United States? I mean,
no.
He hasn't said much at all about how he got here, but there have been reports of possible death threats he has received.
Oh, because he didn't
human
come through
traffickers,
with,
the money.
Payoff. Yeah, I do remember some of that. Yeah.
He went through a lot, and again, not ultimately. We just talk about him as a baseball player, but man, I guess he tried to defect 5 times in all. The final time he was successful. There's a base hit. Rizzo will be stopped by Gary Jones. Wow, what a throw by Puig. Well, the other part of it, I was just going to add, when the Dodgers signed Puig, they gave him a 7-year deal with $42 million, and not a lot of other teams knew much about him. And I think there was a lot of like, wow, that's a lot of money. Well, looks like they got it right.
Yeah. Well, I guess you wouldn't have to scout him very often to see the tools, right? The speed, the power, the arm. Then you just have to determine whether he had the baseball skills. But you would take a chance just on the athleticism, I would think. Probably it for Heron.
Yep, looks like it as the manager is out. Bases loaded with 1 away here in the 5th. Pitching change from Dodger Stadium. Cubs lead by 3.
righty is 0-3 with a 5.06 ERA. Former closer with the Indians. Had his struggles here with the Dodgers. High ERA. 19 walks in 37 innings. Not going to get it done. Essentially a two-pitch pitcher. Fastball that'll hover in the mid-90s and a slider.
Starting to wonder if the hirsute look is becoming a bit passé. And the guys who are clean-shaven now are kind of,
well, it's
the hipsters.
The nature of baseball. It's a herd mentality. Right? Once one guy does it, and somebody else, and hey, I got to do that.
Cubs had their fair share of guys too, but I mean Brian Wilson and Scott Van Slyke, Andy's son.
It's like the old House of David barnstorming team.
There's Castillo. Bases full of Cubs with one out. He walked twice against Aaron. In the air to center. Puig going after it. He's not going to catch it. That ball's off the wall. He missed a grand slam by 2 feet. And the Cubs can only get one, and Castro is safe. He got his hand back in just ahead of the tag. That is a long single.
Castillo, he thought he had a bases clearing double.
I wonder there if Puig, because of all the stuff we just talked about, his athleticism, I think the runners thought he was going to catch it, obviously, but it was way over his head.
Yeah, Castillo knows he put a charge in it. You can tell the way he flipped the bat. And Puig's playing a shallow center field. Off he goes. Hot pursuit. That ball just misses flying out of here. Karen comes right back to him. That helps his cause for sure.
As it is, it's 5-1. Scherholtz lifts in the air. And Crawford will give way. Puig will make the catch. Castro on his way to the plate. Here's the throw there. Safe. Ball got away from Ellis. Now, Puig hasn't made a lot of plays, but he's had a Gold Glove night. He's made some throws, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, and that you can see Crawford defer to him for that reason, because of his arm. Situations like this where there's a chance to throw somebody out of home plate, they're going to let him take it. And just that short hop throw, not able to secure it at home plate for Ellis.
And they would have had him had Ellis been able to hang on. 6-1 on the sac fly. And the rookie Hendricks benefiting, and he takes a strike. Now watch how far Puig has to go to get this ball. I mean,
right, and you know, and any other outfield, that's the left fielder's ball.
Has a little bit of a bad news Bears feel. Kelly leaked.
Yeah, just yep.
I'll take everything. See, to me tonight shows you why he should play center.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to have some communication issues. There are going to be certain balls where guys on the corners are going to want to take it, but why wouldn't you let this guy just run all over the place?
And I mean, he's got a right fielder's arm, but if he has the speed to handle center field, it can range from alley to alley and make plays like that. Whoa.
That got by everybody as Perez landed awkwardly. We're going to call that a wild pitch.
See Perez look back. His back foot kicked out on him. Here's Puig one more time, unleashing that throw.
2-2 to Hendricks, and he rifles one just foul.
Oh,
nice
my.
effort by Eddie.
Eddie.
Eddie's all tatted up down there.
You got leather on it.
Got some ink too.
First big league hit for Hendricks came in his first at bat tonight in the second.
Off the foot of Perez, and Turner doesn't know where to go with it.
Oh my.
I can't believe he even thought about first. Looked like he had Castillo caught in no man's land. It's 7-1.
Yeah, if he gets a force at first, he saves a run, but
It's got to be a hit, right?
Yeah, that's a base hit. That's
RBI single at that for Hendricks. He's 2 for 3.
This is becoming a yard sale here for the Dodgers. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on out there.
Number 7, Alcantara.
Castillo, he played it right, man. He waited and waited.
One ball, one strike. Cubs looking to make it 4 out of 5 and end the Dodgers' season-long 6-game winning streak. One and two.
Six-game winning streak. The Dodgers outscoring the opposition 30-11. That was the Giants in San Francisco, and then a 3-game set here against Atlanta.
This is a lone series in a pretty long stretch in which the Dodgers played teams with winning records.
Yeah, after the break, they started with St. Louis and Pittsburgh, Giants, Atlanta, and then after the Cubs, they got the Angels, the Brewers, the Braves, the Brewers again. Heads up, Vin. That stretch will take them all the way till August 18th. Cubs the only sub-500 team on the schedule for the Dodgers in that stretch.
Two is outside to fill it up. 3-2.
So I made the reference to the House of David because of the beards. The House of David was a religious organization back in the early part of the 20th century, and their founder, I don't know all the history, but he was a baseball guy, and he had put baseball teams together.
That's a great reference then.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it later.
Crawford makes a catch. 3 runs in for the Cubs here in the 5th. Cubs have dropped 9 of 10 to the Dodgers over the last few years. Time for a Honda game summary. Start something special with great leases and low financing on a new Honda. Visit shophonda.com or go to your local Honda dealer. Cubs coming through with men in scoring position tonight. Big night for Wellington Castillo. 2 walks, RBI single. And catching a gem so far from the young right-hander Kyle Hendricks. CSN, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So what? Anything more in the House of David?
Oh, yeah, so House of David, like early 20th century religious organization. And the guy who founded it was a baseball guy, liked baseball. And he put together teams and these barnstormed. And now wore long beards was part of the deal. But there were a number of major league players that would sometimes play with them, would barnstorm along with them, and they would grow the beards as well. To kind of
Mordecai Brown was one of those guys. Satchel Paige, Grover Cleveland Alexander. Yeah, good call. Sinker strike on Turner, the third baseman.
We should go up to some of these guys and say, are you doing this because of the House of David? See what their response would be. David Ortiz? No. That's a little light. That one wouldn't qualify, I don't think.
2-1.
You can Google it, look it up, read all about it, see pictures.
Back to the pitcher. Hendricks will underhand to Rizzo for the out.
RBI Baseball is back with all 30 MLB teams and 2014 players. Get the retro 2-button style baseball game you've been missing. Visit RBIGame.com for more details and download today on your console and mobile device.
I'm putting the Jason Garrett thing together here. I just saw a tweet from the Dodgers. He was hanging with Clayton Kershaw before the game. Kershaw's from Dallas, so that makes sense now. You know, Kershaw went to high school with Matthew Stafford, Lions quarterback. Yep. Now it's making sense. Again, Kershaw will not pitch in this series. Complete game win last night against the Braves. Inside on Ellis.
As he was working his way through the Dodger system and then to the big leagues at a tender age, so he didn't spend a whole lot of time in the minor leagues. He's drawing comparisons at that young age to Sandy Koufax, and now he's putting up the numbers to match.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. The ball hit hard on the ground, but Alcantara will make the play. Generally, since Koufax's last year, 1966, it has been ludicrous to compare any left-hander the Dodgers have had to Koufax. But if you look at basically Koufax from age 26 to 30 and what Kershaw is now doing between the ages of 22 to now 26, leading the majors in ERA every year. I mean, it is absolutely comparable.
Yes, and there's a knee-jerk reaction for some, the old guard to go, no way, he's as good as Sandy Koufax. Well, wait a minute.
George Altman, we had him in the booth a couple of weeks ago, and he said, with all due respect, you can't compare any of these guys to Koufax. Yeah, that's a great thing about baseball. Statistically, we can. And I think we're doing a disservice. It's Nothing against Sandy Koufax at all. It just tells you how great Clayton Kershaw has been. Rojas, the pinch hitter, grounds out. Hendricks really in a groove. But yeah, Sandy Koufax was great with a capital G. 7-1 Cubs. Weezer formed back in 1992. Cubs 7, Dodgers 1.
There's the veteran Paul Maholm. Been a utility pitcher for the Dodgers this year. 29 games, 8 starts, 21 relief appearances, 4.85 ERA. Maholm throws a little of this, a little of that. 2-seamer, 4-seamer, cutter, slider, curve, change. Kind of in keeping with the theme, he's not a power arm. Gets a lot of ground balls when he's right.
Coghlan bounces out to the pitcher.
Coming to the plate, first baseman, Anthony Rizzo.
Comes Anthony Rizzo. Just got a tweet. I guess the Gonzalez play at the plate was a crew chief initiated review. So the Dodgers did not challenge, and I wondered why the Dodgers would challenge when clearly Gonzalez never got to the bag. That makes sense. Jay Ellis walking this one off cautiously. And those plays at the plate, we've talked to Ricky Renteria about it. It's important that the manager asks the umpire about the collision rule. So you cannot challenge a collision rule, but you can ask. And in the process of asking, you can also get the safer out call involved.
So you can't use a challenge.
You can't use a manager's challenge on a possible the collision rule play. Correct. The what's the rule? 7.13 at the new.
Sounds right.
Yeah. I might be opening a can of worms on Clayton Kershaw, and he's 26, but he's kind of like in the Hall of Fame discussion already, isn't he? For sheer domination.
Well, yeah, I think he's the guy you say if he pitches at this level or close to it for the next X number of years.
If he stays on this pace, this will be the 4th straight year he's led the majors in ERA. Turner up with it. Safe at first is Rizzo. And the Dodgers point to Don Mattingly.
Here he comes. Heck of a play here for Turner. He's playing Rizzo to pull.
Out. They'll overturn it. I like replay, but tonight has been slightly tiresome, hasn't it?
It has.
In that regard, got to admit. This should not take long.
Tony Randazzo is the first base umpire tonight. Looks like he's going to have a second one overturned, but both of them are really tough calls.
I mean, if we get a little extra time to talk about the House of David barnstorming team, I'm all for it. We've had a lot of stops and starts in the middle of innings tonight. That one only took a minute 12. And people tweeting us some great photos. The House of David team, I mentioned in the Ken Burns baseball documentaries. Yeah. Chris Perez, Brian Schlitter.
They're putting together their all House of David team.
They would have fit in nicely.
Yeah. Adam LaRoche rocking that solid beard when we saw the Nationals. I wonder if Scott Van Slyke is as quippy as his dad, Andy. He was always a good quote.
Just missed off the outside corner.
They asked him once about the difference between home and road, and he said, well, on the road, they don't like it when I come downstairs in my underwear and eat Cheerios in the kitchen. Just have a visual. Like strolling into the hotel lobby, with a cup of Joe, bedhead. What's for breakfast?
That one golf to deep left, and it'll one-hop the barrier. Big night for Castro at the dish. He's 3 for 4.
Each hit significantly better than the one before. The little infield roller last time out, punched one into center, and this time he drives the ball to left over the head of Crawford, who got a real bad break on it, but he wasn't going to catch it anyway.
You're wondering what we've been talking about. There it is. It's Brian Wilson there, third from the right. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Base hit left field. Castro around third. Here comes the throw by Crawford. It's going to be late. Eight to 1. Big night for the Cubs offense.
Fireworks night here at the ballpark tonight. Cubs providing their own, scoring early and often. Second hit of the night for Valbuena.
Two hits, both coming with 2 outs against the former Cub Mahalem, who was kind of the first of several free agent signings by Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer in this current Cubs front office. He went 9-6 with a .374 in 2012 before being traded to Atlanta. He preceded Scott Feldman. He preceded Jason Hamill. Well, they've been very good at finding undervalued veteran starting pitchers. Short-term contracts. Puig over to make the catch. And that will end the inning. The association. So we'll go back to the 60s, honoring LA's great music history. Cubs 8, Dodgers 1.
Today's lucky fan is Jeremy.
From the LA area, Mission Viejo High School, and this fan club in attendance here. A lot of family and friends. And it has been a good night for Kyle. 2 hits, an RBI, and has been really good on the mound.
Yeah, how about that?
He's been efficient too.
Well, facing this star-studded lineup and doing his thing.
One is upstairs on a cutter.
Wada and Ryu pitch tomorrow night. Jackson and Beckett on Sunday.
Three and one. That's a strike. Yeah, we have people asking us how the Dodgers were able to challenge that call. We just saw in the top of this inning as Coughlin went back. I just explained the early challenge on the Gonzalez play was a crew chief review. So automatically still had one more. Here's Puig. He has grounded out to Castro both times. Willie Peralta has 13 wins. He's 13-6 after beating Adam Wainwright, who's also 13-6. 7-4 Milwaukee, the final in St. Louis.
Yeah, Willie Peralta, I'd buy that stock. I like that kid. Big, strong, throws 95-mile-an-hour sinkers.
Kyle Loesch and Justin Masterson tomorrow. Matt Garza, John Lackey on Sunday. Jimmy Nelson was supposed to start Saturday, but he's got a blister. Popped up. Not nearly as much foul territory as there was years ago here at Dodger Stadium. Ball behind the visiting dugout. Kind of see the old wall. All the really expensive seats right on top of the action.
Down there where Rob Reiner and those guys are sitting.
Yeah. Do they have seat fillers here like they do at the Oscars? If Rob wanted to go grab a diet soda or something.
Somebody sit in the seat.
Have someone sit in there for him.
I'm going to go with no on that one. Good action on that sinker. Puig gets the ball on the ground a lot. He's done that twice tonight. I don't know if they would try to rework his swing a little bit to try to get him to take advantage of his strength and hit the ball out of the ballpark a little more often. I don't know. The way he's going along this year, I don't think I would mess with him. He's putting up very good numbers. Walking more frequently this year than last.
Yeah, I mean, he's slugging about .550. Mark McGuire's hitting coach.
What's he got? 9 triples, 3 in one game.
Everything on the ground so far tonight. Safe at first.
Yeah, he's got 17 or 18 infield hits. You got to come and get it with Puig going down the line. This time there will be no challenge. Starlin starts in, then retreats to get the more convenient hop, but in so doing, he allows Puig time to just barely beat it there at first base.
Van Slyke 0 for 1 since coming into play first for Adrian Gonzalez.
Good pitch. Seems to me that he's thrown more fastballs in this game tonight than in his previous starts. Not relying on that changeup as much. Pirates score 3 in the top of the 8th. They've tied the Diamondbacks 4-4. Inciarte hit number 2 for the D-backs. He just has great feel for that sinker tonight. And a guy like Hendricks, who once he gets that feel for that pitch, realizes he doesn't have to be that fine. Just let it go, keep it down around the knees, and rely on that good movement.
Nope. Not a good throw. And everybody's safe.
That'll be an error on Wellington Castillo, and I don't know if he just didn't get the grip on that ball, or if he was second guessing his decision to throw the ball at second base, or he wasn't quite sure who had the bag. But in this instance, just fired the ball over the base. I think it was just a matter of hurrying the throw with that look. In his haste, and kind of when you rush it, you don't get on top. A lower arm angle to create all that crazy movement.
So 2 on for Ramirez.
Probably had a little more time than he realized. Maybe he was thinking he would get 2 out of it. Much like Castro earlier in the ball game. Just tried to be a little too quick. Don't need to be greedy here, just need to get outs.
Hey, we want to send out happy 87th birthday wishes to Gene Johnson, watching us back home, Canton, Illinois. Never misses a Cub game on television.
A shot at redemption. Play they've pulled off 3 or 4 times this year. And Slyke was wise to it. might be swinging here. They're down 7. They need something big. Good pitch, boy. You talk about making a pitch on 3-0. Sinker at the knees.
Three and one on Ramirez. That's a fair ball. Throw to second. They'll get one, and that's it. To the plate. Puig is safe. He got his hand in as he slid around Castillo. Well, if he's out, that's a terrible base running play. But it ends up being a good one because he scored.
Yeah,
just these moments where he's just going to keep running and somebody throws him out.
If it's a close game, it's a good play. In a lopsided game, it's a bad play. Even when you're safe, you got away with it. And the ball shouldn't have been turned at second base. Alcantara probably should have just held on to it, taken a look at Puig. But it was an exciting play. Nothing had been established, and then ultimately he wins the race to home plate. And this is kind of fun. The first pass by, he doesn't get it. Castillo doesn't get him, and then Puig able to get back to home plate before the tag was applied. Great effort by Castillo. And it looks like Jim Wolf got it right.
As Chris Bosio goes to the mound, Ricky Renteria is going to challenge. This is by far the most challenges we've seen.
Well, let's see if we can see what Ricky's basing his challenge on.
I don't know if I saw Castillo.
Yeah, I don't know. I never saw Willie
get him on the
actually touch him.
Now, what are they telling him? Now he can't challenge. He can't ask them on the collision rule because the runner was already safe.
Yeah, there was.
So you have to argue safe or out.
Right. There's no
saying out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it looked like his wrist got caught on his own mask and helmet.
I mean, it's funny as Puig reached for home plate with his left hand. It looked to me like he came just within an eyelash of tagging his hand, but I don't think he ever got it. And then he got him with the other hand.
Watch the catcher's helmet and mask.
Yeah. It kind of gets in his way a little bit. And look how close he comes to the left hand. Doesn't get it. And, yeah, I guess it was with the left hand that Puig ultimately slapped home plate with. Yeah.
What a strange ball game. Jim Wolf's had those headphones on.
Yeah.
A lot tonight.
Like the guys in New York are like, would you please stop calling us? It's late back here. We're trying to sleep. Look like a couple of kids fighting over a toy in the sandbox. Gotta love it. Rolling around the dirt.
They're not reviewing third base, but let's just see if Puig touched third. Yep, he did. He wasn't looking, but he clearly stepped on the bag, just kept on going.
Yeah, it was his attention the whole way. He was keeping his eye on Alcantara, and as soon as Arizmendi started to throw that ball to first base, he just kept on churning home. Well, and that's just a great reminder for the Cubs infielders for the rest of this series, and when they see the Dodgers later, how aggressive Puig is. He's the kind of guy you can get on that backdoor play where you come off the bag at second base, fake like you're going to try to turn two, and then throw in behind him. Or perhaps you probably end up having to throw home because he's probably going to keep on going.
And once we get to the 7th, you don't need a manager's challenge anymore. You can make suggestions.
I guess I got to give them high marks for doing their due diligence, spending all this time reviewing this play in an 8-2 ball game. In the meantime, Kyle Hendricks just wants to pitch.
That's the other thing. Boy, it really seems to be getting in the way of the flow here. There's nothing definitive. If he got his fingers, you can't see it. So I do not expect them to overturn this. Yep, he's safe.
That'll be an unearned run. There's the error by Castillo earlier in the inning. There. Here's your reward for scoring that run.
Uribe. 4-minute review. Well, they've been trying to keep it to 2 minutes. And really, it's 6 minutes since the last pitch. So the review itself took 4, but we had 2 minutes in the interim. So now 2-0. Did Hendricks take warm-up tosses?
I think he did, yes.
He took a couple? Okay. Back to the pitcher, and the inning is over. They get one. It's 8-2 Cubs. Good fan cam tonight, and a very underrated band, Los Lobos, as Andre Ethier takes over for Puig, who might have been banged up on that play at the plate. So the two guys at the plate, sliding in Gonzalez and Puig, both have come out of the game.
Yeah, Gonzalez with a contusion of the knee, right knee. And we'll wait to hear on Puig.
It could just be Don Mattingly saying, you've been running a lot, you've been flying all over the diamond. It's 8-2. For your best interests and ours, I'm just going to have you sit out the final 3
Go
innings.
ice down your body and relax. Come back and get him tomorrow.
I think Puig is definitely a guy Mattingly's, I'm sure, always thinking about giving time off, just because he plays so hard all the time, which you have to appreciate.
Yeah, they walk that fine line. You don't want to take away his aggressiveness, but you try to take away the recklessness.
Yeah, I'm guessing that has been a big challenge, and for me, ultimately, I take the good with the bad. I take all the skills he provides, the speed, the throws, the power, and there are going to be times where he's just going to make a really dumb play.
Yeah, and you just
have to live with it.
But you live with it, but you also keep reminding him. You keep telling him. It's kind of like Starlin with some of the brain cramps Starlin has had over the years. You don't stop trying to correct it.
2-1 to Scherholz.
Say another guy who has a reputation of being a very smart player, who makes a lot of bad decisions on the bases, is Albert Pujols. He used to run into outs all the time, and you'd be watching, scratching your head, where does he think he's going? And Tony La Russa himself would say Albert runs the bases like he's invisible.
Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. All Cubs tonight. Late night Cubs baseball on WGN from Dodger Stadium. And JD and our WGN sports crew as Hendricks bunts. And was thrown out by Ellis, 2-4 on the sacrifice. I'm starting to think that Kyle Hendricks is a pretty good athlete. He's done all you could ask at the plate tonight and more.
Yeah, fields his position. There's the first knock. Here comes the first RBI. Walked that one off the pitcher's foot. Got down a bunt.
Strike on Alcantara.
And you mentioned it earlier, it's just his 4th big league start, so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but it does look like he's the kind of guy who's going to be able to pitch above his stuff because he's smart, has good command. Seems to have a real high pitching IQ.
Alcantara bounces foul past Gary Jones, Cubs third base coach.
Phillies beat the Nationals 2-1 tonight in D.C. Marlon Byrd hit his 21st home run. A lot of folks thought he would be traded.
Diving stop, Van Slyke from his back. Out at first. What are they saying?
They're saying he dropped the ball trying to take it out.
Mahalam's hurt. Mahalam and Alcantara came together, and Paul apparently injured one of his legs. That does not look good. Grabbing that right knee. And we want to make sure Ricky Renteria is not going to ask for a
yeah, he's talking.
Here.
He's talking to the umpire. And
or a play by Van Slyke.
Yeah, how about that? Thrown from his back, and Mahalam.
He got him. Ooh, he looked like he jammed his knee. Well, that's the end of the inning. And hopefully Mahalam is all right. Stretch time here in L.A. What a wild night. 8-2 Cubs.
Waiting. Grab some buds.
Boy, it's been a rough night for the Dodgers. Looks like they've lost 3 guys due to injury in this game. Adrian Gonzalez with a right knee contusion. Yasiel Puig clearly less than 100% after that slide into home plate. And Paul Mahalam appeared to tweak his right knee, although he is walking off under his own power. Hendricks just out to the mound after that wild end of the top of the 7th.
Well, Kyle Hendricks tonight. Another solid effort and still going. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, just 1 earned. A walk, it was intentional. That was to Gonzalez in the first and a couple of strikeouts. As was the case in his previous start. A lot of ground ball outs. Sinker's been really, really good for him here tonight.
I recognize that signature. And the great Ron Santo.
Big crowd here tonight. Sellout anticipated tomorrow. Not anticipated. They've already announced it. Tomorrow night's a sellout.
What else can happen in this ball game?
Yeah, I'd go for a couple of drama-free innings to take it to the finish line here.
I'm with you on that.
It speaks to the confidence, though, that Ricky Renteria has in his young starter, that Hendricks is out here for the seventh, just like his last start. And even in that start in Cincinnati, his very first start, left him in there for a big confrontation with Jay Bruce. The trust factor in Hendricks is really high for a guy making just his fourth major league start. A lot of times a guy in this situation, you get 6 innings out of him, you go, okay, we're good, you're done. Go slap some ice on your arm, feel good about your night.
Fly ball well hit out in the deep right center. Sweeney's got it on the warning track. Brian Sweeney's a good outfielder. Takes good routes. If he gets there, he makes a catch.
Yeah, he's made a couple spectacular plays this year. That one's slicing away from him.
Just over 100 pitches now for Hendricks. Right-hander Justin Grimm in the Cubs bullpen on a deep right field. Full count. Here it comes. Got him on a sinker that was elevated.
Third strikeout of the night for Hendricks. Ball swing. Turner can't believe he missed that ball.
Strike on Ellis.
Here's your house of David.
Oh man. Look at that. Way up in the air for Coughlin. He's got it. 1, 2, 3. It's probably it for Hendricks. Terrific tonight. 8-2 Cubs. Don't worry, baby. Hopefully that's the mantra for the Cubs tonight as they face the other Brian Wilson.
Yeah,
and yeah, they called Tim Lincecum the freak. But Brian Wilson seems to wear that proudly. He caught a first pitch tonight from Jeff Bridges. He had a hoodie on. It's about, 85 degrees on the field. He was dressed like it was about 30.
He's a different cat. And, boy, he's really struggled with his control this year. Those walk numbers are way out of line. .25 walks and 32 2/3 innings of work. ERA of 5.23. They're paying him $10 million. Fastball velocity down 3 or 4 miles an hour from his best days with the Giants.
Ripped into center by Coghlan. Makes him 2 out of 5 tonight. 400 to start August.
Anthony Rizzo.
Well, life is good for Chris Coghlan these days. Seems like he gets 2 hits every night.
Got a favorite Beach Boys tune?
No, because some of them sound the same to me. There's just that Beach Boys sound.
Right. Well, they had the surf stuff early, but once they got to Pet Sounds, it started to change a little bit. Got to go with the one we played, Don't Worry Baby. God Only Knows. Wouldn't it be nice? Sloop John B.
Sloop John B, I was going to say. I like Sloop John B. I request that. I'm going to put my quarter in the jukebox here.
Kokomo. Anyone? Bueller?
Was anyone in reference to Kokomo, or is anyone a song?
No, Kokomo was not probably going to be anybody's first choice.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
Turner in foul territory retires Rizzo.
Triggs is pointing out that John Stamos won a Grammy for playing the bongos on Kokomo. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was when he was hanging out with them.
Yeah.
Which should immediately eliminate that song from contention for our list.
So what's the Grammy for? Like for bongoing on a popular song? I mean, I didn't know there was a category for best bongos. That one doesn't make the award show, I'm guessing. It's one of those ones they hand out prior to.
One gets away from Ellis and allows Coghlan to move to second. And a wild pitch. We were in Fort Worth playing. We were playing the Rangers about 3 years ago. Team Hotel bar after the Friday night game. Bruce Johnston from the Beach Boys. He joined the band, I think, originally to be the touring singer when Brian Wilson didn't want to tour. So he's been with them since the mid-'60s. And he told the story of Pet Sounds. He flew to England. He was hanging out with Keith Moon. And I guess Keith Moon had like a record player in his car.
Who doesn't?
Right. Like a Bentley or something. And Bruce Johnston's telling the story, and he says, Paul and John, meaning McCartney and Lennon, Keith Moon, who, by the way, wanted to be in the Beach Boys. He loved surf music. So they go back and they listen to Pet Sounds all the way through twice. This is before it was released. And that night, McCartney went back home and wrote Here, There, and Everywhere, and eventually that spurred them to write Sgt. Pepper. So that was like a huge night in rock history. And Bruce Johnson's like, yeah, you know, Paul and John, we're just talking, you know, Keith, my buddies. What a story.
Well, you hear some of those guys, right, when they're interviewed and they talk about, you know, some iconic song that they've written, and they sat down and it took, the basic premise took about 10 minutes, and then they had to kind of finish it off.
I think I heard correctly, right? Paul McCartney is going to play the final event at Candlestick Park, which is perfect because the Beatles' last live show was at Candlestick.
I know he's coming here.
Swing and a miss by Valbuena. There you go. Now that's that era I love. 65, 66. Cutter is low on Valbuena. And a lot of that music came from right here in L.A. Another cutter is low, 2-1. Left-hander Mike Love is up in the bullpen. What a night for Kyle Hendricks. Leading 8-2 late. Swing and a miss. Wilson 2 strikeouts in the 8th inning. 8-2 Cubs. Cubs baseball brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Ford, manufacturers of America's best-selling brand. Check out our best-selling lineup at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1967. Windy. By the association. Here's Justin Grimm.
As you peruse the numbers on Justin Grimm, not what he would like. ERA high, fueled by those 25 walks. Been good lately, though. He's been sharp the last couple times out. 2 appearances against the Rockies. Back-to-back days.
Facing backup catcher and pinch hitter tonight, Drew Butera.
And that right there is what he was doing in those outings against Colorado, getting on top and driving that fastball down around the knees. Willing to get, be aggressive early and then expand.
Swung on and missed. Grimm is the kind of guy I think give more of a leash to in terms of young pitchers struggling because of the stuff. And we've seen a couple of outings, and you mentioned a couple ones recently where you go, yeah, okay, now we're talking.
He gets, he kind of has an explosive delivery, and sometimes kind of comes out of his delivery and he'll kind of overthrow the curveball. And I don't know if it's just sometimes maybe not trusting his stuff and trying to make too good of a pitch, trying to really snap off a nasty curveball and you muscle up on it and it gets away from you. But good execution there. He quickly disposes of Butera.
The Dodgers announcing Yasiel Puig taken out for precautionary measures. Mild left hamstring soreness.
Yep, pull off the road, put a little air in that tire before it blows out.
Strike on D. Gordon. $47,900 right on the button. The paid crowd tonight.
1 earned run in 7 innings of work for Kyle Hendricks tonight will lower his ERA to 2.05 through 107 pitches, 67 for strikes.
Ground ball backhanded by Alcantara.
Center fielder, number 16, Andre.
Down the road in San Diego, the Padres are putting a beat down on the Braves. 10-1. Heading to the 9th.
They've got like 20 hits, don't they?
They do. 20 hits.
It's a lot. Not as many as we've played tonight. Going to break, though.
That's the Padres. That's like a week for them.
Good breaking ball from Grimm, 0-2.
Tommy Medica, 5 for 5, 4 runs, 4 driven in, 2 home runs. He's your big leaguer of the day. Grimm spot on here tonight, 3rd time in a row. Bonifacio is playing right field for the Braves.
I don't think he played any right the Cubs, did he?
I don't remember him out there. Hayward's a little nicked up, right? Concussion, maybe.
There's Jamie Wright.
That guy's been around for 20 years.
He has been around for a long time. Really good sinker.
Late noise for the Pirates. 3 in the 8th, 5 in the 9th to win 9-4 over the D-backs. Yes.
Strike 3 called. Oh, Toto. Now we're talking.
Oh, you're getting ready for 80s.
Angeles, our producer Mark Brady, our director Skip Ellison, Doug Stanton, our associate producer, Eric Johnson, our studio coordinator. Back at WGN, great work by our entire crew. Lee Gamble punching all the buttons, all this great LA tunage tonight. John Reynolds with all the great biographical info on these bands tonight. Drew Butera stays in and catches. What you got on the Bengals, JQ? Got any good stuff? All he said is I love them. Okay, that works.
Jamie Wright.
You're right. He's been around a while, hasn't he?
1996, he debuted with the Colorado Rockies. Starting pitcher early in his career. He morphed into kind of a swingman who would do a little of both.
And his biggest issue early on was finding the strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
Sinkers sometimes moved too much when he was young.
Sinkers and curveballs. What I remember from his early days, there's a fair number of cut fastballs now. Colorado, Milwaukee, the Royals, back to the Rockies, Giants, Rangers, Royals, A's, Mariners, Dodgers, Rays, back to the Dodgers.
From Oklahoma City. He'll turn 40 the day before Christmas. We like to call that Christmas Eve. And you can also say it's Jamie Wright's birthday from here on out, December 24th. Big night for Castillo. He's on deck. Sweeney with 2 hits, 2 runs. Castro 3 hits, 3 runs. Valbuena has homered and knocked in a couple. Spread the wealth tonight. Ooh, that's a good curveball. Slider, whatever it is, it was good. I think that's his curve.
Yeah, I would go curveball on that one.
Cubs out hitting the Dodgers 13-4. And that pitch right there is one that I don't think he threw early on, the cutter. Everybody throws it now. Soft liner right to the shortstop.
So if you want to see the Dodgers in Chicago, September 18th through the 21st, 4-gamer. The middle of a long homestand, the final homestand of the year. Reds, Dodgers, and then the Cardinals in town. So the Cubs could have some impact on the races. I like what Ricky Renteria said the other day when asked about that, about being a spoiler in the second half. Yeah, just want to win games. Spoiler implies that you want to beat the Cardinals more than you want to beat the Padres. Right. And for me in baseball, every day you go out there, the goal is to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's got enough to worry about with his own team and picking certain teams to beat.
Yeah. Hey, fellas, let's try real hard tonight.
He got him. 2 strikeouts for Wright in a 1-2-3 top of the 9th. We go to the bottom of the 9th from L.A. for the Cubs tonight. They've overcome a couple of errors. 2 runs, 1 earned, charged to the starter Kyle Hendricks. Blake Parker will try to get these final 3 outs.
7 games at the big league level this year for Parker. He's pitched to a 5.59 ERA. 10 hits in 9 2/3 innings. 3 walks, 9 strikeouts.
Yeah, he's been on that shuttle all year.
Recall from Iowa, he'd just been optioned the other day, but because DuBrant was acquired and put on the disabled list, that allowed the Cubs to bring Parker back. Otherwise, you'd have to wait 10 days.
Called back by Scott Van Slyke. Deep breath by the right-hander, and the 0-1 is a strike. Pitcher's strike at that, and on the outside edge.
A little giddy up there. That one clocked at 93 miles an hour. Parker averages right around 90 with his fastball. Slider and a split finger pitch.
Strike 3 called.
Living on the edges, huh? How about those pitches?
Yeah, that's one where you give the home plate umpire credit because it was a strike.
Yeah.
Caught kind of funky, but Castillo really trying to keep that one in the zone, and he did. Ramirez 1 for 3 with an RBI. It's over in San Diego. The Padres drubbed the Braves 10-1. Pirates beat the Diamondbacks 9-4. They got 8 runs in the final 2 innings. Jose Veras got the win tonight for the Houston Astros, 3-1 over the Blue Jays.
Jose Bautista calling out the front office for not being active at the trade deadline. Understand his frustration. It's kind of interesting to hear his comments. It's like kind of like, you know, everybody else in the neighborhood got a new bike. Why can't I? Everybody else is picking up pieces here at the trade deadline. Why not us?
Carlos Gonzalez in that game in Detroit aggravated his sprained right ankle. The jump, the catch by Alcantara. Well timed.
Yeah, great read there. Sometimes you see a guy go up a little early on a ball like this, but watch Alcantara up on the balls of his feet and then perfectly timed. He's saying I only got up an inch. That's all you needed. Hanley's in no big hurry to get off the field. Some bad body language there tonight. He just gave away his batting helmet to a fan behind the dugout.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've seen that.
I feel like there's no karma left in that helmet.
I know it's happened, but I've never seen it. Just handing that guy his helmet. He's going, what's this stuff all over? It's like some pine tar.
Let's put some nachos in there. I saw Turk Wendell throw his glove into the stands at Wrigley after a rough outing.
Kerry Wood did that once too. Oh man.
Carl Crawford has been quiet tonight. Punch out and a couple ground balls to the mound. He's only hitting .244 this year.
One and two with 2 outs. A pitch, a fly ball to center. Sweeney drifts back. Cubs win. Cubs win. They beat the first place Dodgers 8-2 the final. Kyle Hendricks gets the victory. Valbuena with a home run. The offense pounded out 13 hits tonight.
Black bandana, sweet Louisiana, robbing on a bank instead of Indiana.